Hi, I'm Paul Murphy and welcome to animating stunning motion graphics using only Premiere Pro. I'm an editor and motion graphics designer, although you may know me from my YouTube channel, The Premiere Pro. Now, I've been creating motion graphics for about 20 years now, and in that time, I've always had to go to After Effects to create them. Now, don't get me wrong, I love working with After Effects, but when Premiere Pro introduced the Essential Graphics panel, it meant that there was more I could create directly inside of Premiere Pro that was fast to render and fast to playback. So in this session, I didn't want to show you a step-by-step guide on how to use the Essential Graphics panel, but rather I wanted to show you the five things that you need to know to make amazing graphics directly inside of Premiere Pro. And the first thing, I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough, and that is working with groups in the Essential Graphics panel. So groups are actually quite unique inside of Premiere Pro. They're a little bit like Photoshop groups, and they're a little bit like pre-comps inside of After Effects. And probably the thing that they do most obviously is the most boring thing, and that is that they're useful for organizing layers. All that means is that I can go up here and select both of my text layers, and I can create group, and I'll call that text. So I've got all of my text layers inside their own folder called text. It's nice to be organized, but there are better uses for groups. And probably the other one that's a bit more interesting is working with group transform settings. So if I go back to this text here and I put this inside of its own group, you'll notice that that group has its own transform settings here. So I can control the scale, the position, rotation. And where that comes in handy is with a graphic like this, where I have an animation of the car and the wheels are separate layers that are rotating, and the car itself is sort of bobbing up and down. And I want to be able to animate all of these layers at once so that it starts off screen and then animates to the other side of the screen. So what I'm going to do is select those layers and create group. I'll call this car. And then I'll move to the start of the clip, and I want to add keyframes to that group layer. So I'll turn on keyframes for the position. And then I want to move to the last frame of that clip. So for that, the shortcut is Shift End. And I'm just going to move that car off camera. And then we have an animation that looks like this. Now it's probably moving a little bit slow at the moment, but I am going to show you something else to be able to speed that up later on. So being able to apply transform settings to multiple layers in a group is really useful, but probably the thing that I find most useful about working with groups is the ability to have group effects. So for example here, let's say I wanted to have a linear wipe on each individual piece of text here. So I'm going to go over to my effects panel and I'll get a linear wipe and I'll drag that to the very top of my Essential Graphics stack. And I'll just put in some settings here. So we'll turn on keyframes for transition completion. And I'll set this to 100%. I'll set my wipe angle to 270 degrees. And the feather, let's set this at about 200 pixels. And then let's jump forward 2 seconds in the timeline. So I'll type +2 full stop to jump forward 2 seconds. And I'll just set that transition completion to 0. Now, if you look at the way that this is applied to the graphic, you'll see that it's going to wipe on the entire graphic. And that's because there is a stacking order being applied here. So anything that's underneath the linear wipe effect is being affected by it. If I drag this down one layer, well now the linear wipe is affecting everything except for that first line of text. But there's no obvious way to only affect the text, except in this situation if we use groups. So what I can do is move that linear wipe up to the top here. And I'm going to select that and the first line of text. I'll put them in their own group. And now you'll see that that linear wipe is only being applied to the layers that are inside of that group. And now I can have lots of different interesting effects as well. So I could duplicate that linear wipe. I'll press Shift, Command, or Control / to duplicate it. I'll move this down to the other line of text and put those two in their own individual group. And then what I'll do is select the keyframes for that second transition, and I'll just offset them a little bit. So now we have 2 lines of text that's fading on at different times. And that gives you a lot of flexibility with what you can do with your graphics by being able to apply effects to specific grouped layers. For thing number 2, I want to talk about working with masks in the Essential Graphics panel. And probably the simplest mask you could work with is a shape mask. So for example, I have this text here that just animates up, and I'd like it to animate out of a mask instead of just popping into frame like that. So to do that, I'm going to add a rectangle. Shortcut for that is Option Command or Alt Control R to add a new rectangle. And then I'm just going to stretch this out so that it's covering all of my text. And then with that shape selected, I'm going to go down the bottom and choose Mask with Shape. And what that means is that everything below this shape here, we're only going to be able to see it through this rectangle. So then we have an animation that looks like this. Now, very similar to working with shape masks is working with text masks. And the cool thing about these is they allow you to be able to see video through a text layer. So very easy to do. All I need to do is go up to the text layer and same thing down the bottom, mask with text. And now we're only seeing that video through the text layer. Now you'll notice that the background is all black. And what if we wanted a different color for the background? Maybe we wanted it to be white. Well, what I could do is add a new rectangle here and I'll change the fill to white. And I'll set the width to 1920 by 1080. Now it's covering up all of my animation, and that's because this layer is at the very top of the stack. If I wanted it as the background, I'd move it to the very bottom of the stack, but now I can't see it at all anymore. And that's because this black is not actually black. These are invisible pixels. If I go and turn my transparency grid on, you'll see I can actually see right through this clip. If I had other clips below it in the track, I'd be able to see those. So the way around this is to use thing number 1. If we put that text mask into a group with the video layer, now that mask is only being applied to the layers inside of that group, and now we can see that background. And you can create some pretty amazing effects this way as well. So rather than having a background, let's go and get some video instead. And I'll just drag this up into my Essential Graphics panel. And I'll delete that white layer. And now we can be looking at a video background while seeing the other video through the text mask, which is a really nice effect. And the last one that I wanted to talk about is not specific to the Essential Graphics panel, but it will create some amazing effects inside of it. And that's working with effects masks. So effects masks are something that we apply over here in the Effect Controls panel, and you can use them on any clips, but there's an interesting way of working with them with the Essential Graphics panel as well. So for example, I have this neon sign here that I've created using a couple of group layers, and I want this to be flickering on and off. So to create a flicker effect, I'm going to go to the effects panel and I'll get the strobe effect and I'll drag this. I'm going to drag this underneath the drop shadow layer. And you'll see that the default settings is the text strobing on and off, which is a nice effect, but I'm going to make a couple of changes here. First of all, I want the strobe not to operate on color, but to actually make the layer transparent so we can't see it. I'm going to blend it a little bit with the original. I'm going to turn it up to 10%. And I'm also going to make it so that it's not flickering on and off. I actually want it to sort of flicker out of control a bit. So I'm going to turn the random strobe probability up to 50%. And that gives us an effect that looks like this, which is starting to look more like a flickering neon sign. But what if I only wanted one letter to be flickering? Well, for that, what I'm going to do is go over to my strobe light effect in the effect controls. I'm going to create a 4-point polygon mask. And with that mask selected, I'm just going to mask out the A in all of my text so that it's only being applied to that A. And now we have a nice flickering effect that looks like this. So although effect masks are outside of the Essential Graphics panel, they can be a really handy way of applying specific effects to your layers as well. For thing number 3, I want to talk about working with responsive design. So that's the ability to adjust a layer based on the position and scale of another layer. And a simple example of that is something like this, where we have a leaf falling down, moving left to right, and I want my text to follow that leaf as it goes down. So to do that, all I need to do is go and select my text layer, and I'll move the playhead to a place where the leaf and the text are sort of side by side. And then I'm going to go to the responsive design settings. Here it says pin to video frame. I'm going to change this to the leaf. And I just want this to move vertically with the leaf. So to do that, I'm going to go over to this edge graph, and you can either click the top or the bottom. It's the same thing. I'll click the bottom. And now you notice that when I play this animation back, the text is actually falling with the leaf. Now, if I actually wanted it to move horizontally with the leaf as well, I'd go back here and click either the left or right side of the graph. So when I do that, now you'll see that the text is rocking back and forth with the leaf. So that's working with responsive design in terms of position. And you always know that you're working with position because if you go to that responsive design graph, you've only got one side of the graph actually highlighted. When you've got both sides of the graph highlighted, that means you're adjusting the responsive design of the scale. And this comes in handy with something like this here, where I have a box by itself, and then I'm masking the box out with some text above it. And if I wanted to change the text, you'll notice that the box doesn't grow with it. So to do that, all I need to do is select the box, go down to responsive design, pin it to my text layer. And if I click both sides of this graph here, now when I change the text, the box will grow with it. If I wanted to go to 2 lines of text like this, the box doesn't actually grow vertically. And that's because I need to go back to the pin settings there and tick the top and bottom. And now if I have 2 lines of text, it'll grow vertically as well. Now where this really comes in handy is when you start adding masks to responsive design. So I've got this graphic over here where I have an underline for the text that moves down. And what I would like is as the line moves down, it actually reveals that text. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is to add a mask here. I'll just move to the first frame again. I'll add a rectangle. So Option, Command, or Alt, Control, R. And I'll just change the color of this so we can make it out a bit better. And then I'll resize that graphic so that it's covering up our text. And I'll move it up here. And I'm going to move this underneath my underline shape. And I want to set this to mask with shape. But I don't want to reveal what's inside of the rectangle. I want to invert it so I'm not seeing anything inside of the rectangle. And then I'm going to pin this to the movement of the underline. So I'll select this, go down to pin to, and I'll choose the underline shape. I'm going to click in the center here, so I'm pinning it to all edges. And then we have a nice animation like this. And what's really useful about working this way is I've already pinned the underline to the text, and then I've pinned the mask to the underline. So that means if I go in and change this text to something else, the underline is changing its size, but also the mask is changing its size. So now we have a really flexible graphic that we can use in a lot of different situations. For thing number 4, we're still talking about responsive design, but in this case, we're talking about responsive design as it relates to time. So for example, with this clip, I have an animate in here, and after about 8 seconds, it animates out. Now, if I was to shorten this clip, I wouldn't have the animate out at the end. So by using responsive design, I can say, keep the animation in the clip, but speed up everything outside of the intro and the outro. So to do that, I'm going to go up to my effect controls up here, where you can see these are my keyframes. And I'm going to go up to this little blue handle and drag this across to the last keyframe for the intro. And then I'll drag this other one across to the first frame for the outro. And so now what I've said is I always want these sections here to play at the same speed. Whatever happens in the middle, I want you to speed that up. So if I was to take this clip and paste it somewhere else, and I'm going to make it much, much, much shorter. Now you'll see that I have an animate in, and at the end I have an animate out, even though it's much shorter than it was before. So that's really handy with something like lower thirds, where maybe you want to use a lot throughout your project, but they're all going to be different durations. But another place where this comes in handy is when you want to retime graphics. And this relates specifically to that graphic we were looking at before where we had the car slowly moving across the road. So if I wanted to be able to adjust the speed of this clip, all I would need to do is go over to the intro duration and just set this to 1 frame. So that means that the first frame is going to be the same length wherever I use this, but the rest of the clip is going to be dynamically sped up or slowed down depending on the length of the clip. So let's really shorten this clip now to something like that. And then when I play this back, it'll play back much faster. And then the final thing that we need to make stunning graphics in Premiere Pro, well, not necessarily to make them, but more to stop having to make them every single time, is to turn them into motion graphics templates. So it's very easy to create motion graphics templates using the Essential Graphics panel. All I need to do is select the graphic in my timeline, go up to the Graphics and Titles menu up the top, and then choose Export as Motion Graphics Template. Now you have the option to save this to a local template folder or a local drive, but I honestly find the best place to save it to is a library, because a library will be available to you wherever you log in with your Adobe ID. So if you go to a different office or a different computer, you'll still have that motion graphic there. And then if you want to reuse that graphic, just go to the Browse tab in the Essential Graphics panel. You want to go to that library, and then you can just drag that graphic into your timeline and continue making changes to it or update it however you want to. Now, one other thing that I wanted to mention about motion graphics that I only recently found out, and I found out by accident, is that it doesn't just save everything that's in the Essential Graphics panel. So for example, I've got some scan lines that I've created here using the Essential Graphics panel. But of course, I wouldn't just put these on a clip. If I did, it would just look like this. But if I wanted to apply the scan lines to the actual clip, what I need to do is go over to my opacity settings for the clip and set the blend mode to something like overlay. So we have this nice scan lines effect on our footage. Now, even though this overlay setting is not available to me over in the Essential Graphics panel, if I was to save this as a MOGRT, I'll call it scan lines and click OK. Then the next time I drag that into my project, you'll see that it automatically applies that overlay setting to the footage. So that's good to know that things outside of the Essential Graphics panel still get saved into the template itself. And that's it. That is the 5 things that you need to know to create stunning motion graphics inside of Premiere Pro. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of AdobeMAX.